Hey, everybody, welcome to the third week of book club. We are doing Captivate, and you don't have to have the book to be on, obviously. And because I read and you listen, and you can do other things while I'm reading, like listen. And oh no, we have to have our faces on. I have to be able to see people. So, really, Lori.
So if I have my face on, then I keep freezing up. So that's why I
Oh,
took it
I
off
was talking
temporarily.
about Lori. She like
Oh, okay.
intentionally went dark on me. So yeah. Anyway, all right, we're gonna get started. We are on chapter 3. It's called Spark: How to Have Dazzling Conversations. Pay attention. This should be awesome. In the heart of Bogota, there are treasures, and Jeffer Carrillo Toscano is our treasure hunter. A small group of us diligently follow him as he weaves through the small cobblestone alleys that make up La Candelaria, one of the oldest neighborhoods in Colombia. Keep your eyes peeled, he says, pointing to the tops of Spanish colonial houses and crumbling Baroque balconies. They could be anywhere. We climb up a set of narrow stairs, barely disturbing a family of napping kittens, and stumble upon our first find. What are we looking for? Graffiti. Nestled between two boarded windows is one of the most beautiful pieces of art I have ever seen. An indigenous woman looks up at the sky as if in prayer or search of rain. It takes my breath away. Street after street, Jeffer points out drawings I never would have noticed before. A portrait on the side of a drain pipe, a mushroom on the corner of an Art Deco door, a tiny hummingbird next to a patio. As he walks and talks, he is constantly surveying the group for interest. He notes when and where people take pictures, who says ooh, and who looks bored. In between streets, he plays a memory game and tags each person's name to where they are from. By the end, he has all 26 names memorized. Then he asks each of us for our story. He wants to know what brings each person to his graffiti tour, not exactly the typical choice for a tourist. One by one, he finds something relevant for each person on the tour. One woman works at an international nonprofit to preserve the rainforest of South America. To her delight, he brings her to a large mural depicting the Colombian rainforest. Jeffer then learns one of our group members is an American journalist. He weaves around the streets to show him a political graphic on the base of a cement slab. It shows a black and white image of Edward Snowden with the words hero or traitor emblazoned in large block letters. The journalist is blown away and begins scribbling away in his notebook for his next story to send home. Without realizing it, Jeffer is tapping into a fundamental law of human behavior. He creates sparks. His ability to captivate attention has made his Bogota graffiti tour the second highest rated activity on the TripAdvisor and has been featured in the New York Times as a must-see if you have only 36 hours to spend in Bogota. The death of small talk. One of the greatest days of my childhood existence could be summed up in 2 words: Space Mountain. Every summer while I was growing up, my family went to Disneyland. This was the highlight of my year, and my siblings and I counted down the days until we could run through the perfectly manicured, cotton candy scented park with abandon. There was only one problem. In the beginning, I was not tall enough to go on the best rides, specifically Space Mountain. I watched as the top of my older brother's curly hair grazed the ominous height requirement line. Then my parents left me to babysit my little sisters as the 3 of them went down the dark tunnel of excitement without us. I was stuck in the tiki room. The thrill of my day came when my younger sister almost flew out of a spinning teacup because I dared her not to hold on. Never ever tell my mom. One glorious summer, the top of my pigtail reached the forbidding line. I strapped into my rocket car and gripped the sweaty safety bar. The next 2 minutes were life defining. Space Mountain blew my mind. All my life, I had had an inkling I had been missing out, but really I had no idea. The slow, monotonous bumps of Dumbo the Flying Elephant did not even come close to comparing to the exhilarating dips and whirls of Space Mountain. The speed we reached on the Disneyland Railroad was laughable compared to the daredevil pace of a rocket. That day, my brother and I rode Space Mountain over and over again, and I swore I'd never go back to the kiddie rides. This is exactly how it works with conversations. For most of our lives, we chit chat on the kiddie ride. Our conversations aren't memorable because we aren't very stimulated or excited. Our energy level doing most small talks looks something like this. It's just like a flat line. This is small talk. With no high peaks, no interesting hooks, our conversations come and go. We're lucky to remember our partner's name, let alone what we talked about. I want to introduce the concept of big talk. Big talk is like Space Mountain. You start with anticipation and roll easily through the conversation, laughing and hitting highs as it gets better and better. Our energy level looks like this. Like a great roller coaster. See, that would have been easier. Great conversations leave you feeling both exhilarated and hoping you'll never have to experience small talk again. Now, the death of small talk requires some effort. Like any good people hack, big talk means skirting conversational norms, challenging chit chat status quo, and shirking social scripts. Roller coasters command a little extra height, and so does big talk. The reason why we love roller coasters is because of the peaks. The top of each summit gives us a rush as we wait and enjoy the glee of the big ride. Big talk is marked by the same kind of emotional peaks. The best conversations have specific jolts of energy and excitement. I call these star moments sparks. Hack number 3, conversational sparks. Use unique talking points to create pleasurable and memorable conversations. Big talk has tons of sparks, lots of little bursts of pleasure that we remember. Have you ever had a great conversation with someone? Afterward, did you savor it? Replaying the high points, rolling around the humorous moments over and over again in your head? This is because conversational sparks make us feel good. In the brain, sparks are marked by dopamine. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter, that is released in the amygdala when we feel pleasure. When we get a birthday gift, praise from our boss, or a reward, dopamine floods our brain. Think about the joy you get when you walk into a store and the clerk tells you free samples. That feeling of excitement is pure dopamine. Here's what's interesting about dopamine. It helps your memory. Molecular biologist Dr. John Medina likens dopamine to a mental marker. He says dopamine greatly aids memory and information processing. You can think of it like a Post-it note that reads, "Remember this." Getting one's brain to put a chemical Post-it note on a given piece of information means that information is going to be more robustly processed. In other words, being memorable boils down to inducing chemical pleasure. When you produce dopamine during a conversation, you not only give your partner more enjoyment, you're also assigned more significance, which increases your memorability. The question is, how do you spark dopamine during a conversation? I would love for you to keep little presents in your pockets like a birthday party magician, but that isn't very practical. And business suits don't have particularly roomy pockets. Instead, you can produce pleasure verbally. Presents don't come only in colorful wrap packages. Rewards don't need to have a dollar sign. Gratification doesn't just come from physically feeling good. There are 3 ways to hack your conversations to make them both more pleasurable and more memorable. Let's turn your small talk into big talk. Anybody have anything yet for this, or should I just keep going?
When we were talking about how you dopamine aids memory and information processing, think of it like a Post-it note that reads, "Remember this." What flashed in my head were moments of jubilee, where we got really excited about something, where it was really like big and exciting, and they told us something and you're like, "Oh my gosh, that's mind blowing." And like after jubilee, you were processing those moments over and over again. So that's really what kind of popped out at me.
Yeah, I think you do remember different things for different reasons. And it's usually tied, the things that you remember the most, I think are usually tied to emotions one way or the other. Otherwise, it's just all kind of white noise.
You know what? I mean, like big things like that, Amy, that's right. Like with Jubilee, every Jubilee we go to, it's like, oh, that was so fun. And you play it over and over. But when she was reading, I was thinking of like just normal conversations,
Yes.
like normal conversations you have with a friend. And it's such a fun conversation. And when you hang up, you're like, oh, that was really great. Like maybe somebody you haven't talked to in a while, or maybe someone you have talked to a lot, but it's just right. It's the energy and if it's fun, and those are good conversations to have, but it always comes with energy. No one wants to talk to that. Sometimes we have to talk to that friend that is like Eeyore, but when you answer the phone and there's that friend, oh, and you're like, oh, okay. And you try to shift gears and nothing works, you have to have those conversations sometimes, but when they're on the side that Jenny was talking about, I don't remember the words she used, not the verbiage, the words she used, then that's what came to my mind. It's like everyday conversations with friends. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of my problem with like texting. Is I like to talk to people. I don't remember things people sent me in a text. The
I
only
agree.
thing that's good about texting is when I forget what they said, I can go back and look.
Correct.
Yeah. Sometimes it's way back and you have to read stuff and you're like, really? We text way too much. But yeah, I just like to talk to people. I like to talk, obviously. So, okay. Number 1, conversation sparkers. One day I was sitting in the green room of a morning news show, nervously awaiting my segment. Want to say hi?
I was reading this lit on the front.
Oh,
On your
say hi.
hi.
Good morning.
Okay. Nervously awaiting my segment. All of a sudden, in walked one of my favorite writers, Elizabeth Gilbert, author of Eat, Pray, Love, and Big Magic. I was stunned and immediately began racking my brain for something interesting to say. I was dying to talk to her, but had no idea what would pique her interest. What does one say to a literary icon, a best-selling author, and a personal hero? Should I ask about her book? No, too obvious. Should I ask where she's from? No, too bland. Should I just blurt out how much I love her books? No, too suck-uppy. Before I could work up my nerve, the other guest in the room smiled at both of us and said, "Do you like soup?" Okay, this is one conversation starter I would have never come up with on my own, but I was grateful. I stared at how the other guest wide-eyed at her courage and held my breath. How on earth would Miss Gilbert react? To my amazement, Elizabeth Gilbert, call me Liz, she clarified immediately, clapped her hands and began telling us about her favorite winter soup recipes. We reminisced about grandma-made stews and laughed about the perils of eating healthy while traveling. Who would have thought that a soup conversation starter would spark such a lively and fun discussion? I found out later that the other guest was a chef publishing a soup cookbook, and Liz was on one of her West Coast book tours. I was doing a segment on the science of friendship, and we all had 30 minutes to kill before we went live on air. All we needed was a spark. Most conversations go something like this. What do you do? Oh, that's nice. Where are you from? Oh, never been there. So what brings you here? Good, good. Well, I'm going to go get a drink. Boring. This conversation is the equivalent of sitting on a kiddie ride. There is almost no emotional stimulation, no sparks, no highs, just a slow roll to an anticlimactic ending where you desperately need hand sanitizer. It's time to step up to Space Mountain. I get it. Sometimes we're lazy or plain afraid of tackling new topics. But what's the point of following nearly identical social scripts every time you talk to someone? What's the point of trying to talk to a new client if it's so boring they won't remember it anyway? What's the point of interacting on autopilot? Big talk requires asking fresh questions that cause conversational sparks. I call these conversations sparkers in lieu of conversation starters. They ignite new ideas, introduce topics we've never thought about, and stimulate in-depth discussions. Why do we get pleasure from novelty? Neurobiologists Dr. Nick Bunzik and Dr. Amaro Duzel conducted a study they called the oddball experiments. In this test, experimenters showed participants a series of images, excuse me, a series of images while scanning their brains in a functional magnetic resonance imaging machine. Most of the images depicted the same facial and same scene, same facial expression and same scene. Blech. However, participants were intermittently shown a second series of oddball images. The researchers measured blood flow to different areas of the brain as participants observed each image. They found that oddball images activate your brain's novelty center, the substantia nigra and ventral tegmental area. Can I just tell you that this book has some of the weirdest words in it? And I get there and I'm like,
You're doing pretty good with it.
You know what? I enjoy listening to you read because you know the words and this one seems like what you just read right there. I'm just like, I'm not looking at the words. So I'm just like, what in the world is that? I don't even.
the novelty center of the brain. That's what it is. Yeah.
You can
there
just
go.
say that.
I could, but it takes all the challenge out of it. But some of the names she puts in here, I'm like, can we just call him Ed, please? Because I got that. Okay, here's why novelty matters. Memory and learning. The oddball images activated the area influenced by the, here she goes, hippocampus, which is the brain's learning and memory center. Novelty makes our brain perk up, pay attention, and process the conversation better. Want people to remember your name? Spark excitement and novelty. Pleasure. The novelty center is linked to our dopamine pathways in the amygdala, the almond-shaped bundle of neurons near the base of the brain. New ideas and topics give us a nice bump of dopamine in this region, which makes us feel great. Interest. Dopamine also encourages us to seek even more rewards. In other words, a little bit of fresh conversation encourages both people to want to go deeper and explore more. Dr. Dazelle explains, when we see something new, we see it as a potential for rewarding us in some way. This potential that lies in new things motivates us to explore our environment for rewards. So here's why novelty matters. The three things were memory and learning, pleasure, and interest. If we abandon social scripts and push ourselves to use conversational sparks, we are more likely to enjoy our interactions and remember what was actually said. In 2016, we partnered with the organizations Mercy Corps, Society for Information Management, and Girls Incorporated to run a set of speed networking experiments. In these experiments, we randomly partnered over 300 participants to test conversation starters. At each chair, participants have 7 slips of paper waiting for them. Each card has a different conversation starter and a space for rating. Once everyone is seated, we start the speed networking rounds. Each conversation starter gets 1 3-minute round. At the end of 3 minutes, we ring a bell, and each participant rates the quality of the conversation produced. 1 for boring, 5 for stellar. Here are the 7 rounds. Can you guess which 3 were rated the highest? What's your story? How are you? What was the highlight of your day? What do you do? Have anything exciting coming up in your life? What brings you here? What personal passion project are you working on? There were clear winners. They're in order of highest rank to lowest. Number 1, what was the highlight of your day? 2, what personal passion project are you working on? 3, have any...
Alexa, turn on the family ring lights.
Hang on a second. Okay, we got that. Number 3, anything exciting coming up in your life? 4, what's your story? 5, what brings you here? 6, what do you do? And 7, how are you? Sometimes we also do a grab bag round where we have people choose any of the 7 previous conversation starters to ask and write down which one they use. The most popular choices for grab bag are, what personal passion project are you working on? And what's your story? The problem is the conversation starters we most often use, what do you do and how are you, are rated as the most boring. So why do we keep on using them? We stick to social scripts out of habit. We use the same dull conversation starters over and over again because they're in our comfort zone. But you know what? Nothing spark-worthy ever happens in your comfort zone. If you keep using social scripts, you'll be stuck in small talk forever. I challenge you to try using our top-rated conversation sparkers. Instead of how's work, hack working on any exciting projects. Instead of how are you, what was the highlight of your day? Instead of what do you do, are you working on any personal passion projects? Instead of how's the family, do you have any vacations coming up? Instead of where are you from, what's your story? Instead of how's it going, what are you up to this weekend? And instead of been busy, what do you do to unwind? Novelty doesn't just hack your in-person conversations. It also adds spark to interactions both online and off. OkCupid is a dating website with over 3.5 million active viewers. They do fascinating data analysis on activity on the website to look for patterns of success. One interesting little nugget is that according to the co-founder, Sam Yagan, men who begin their online dating message with howdy have a 40% higher success rate than singles who open with hey or hi. When it comes to salutation, the more unique, the better. Lori, you're not laughing. I thought you would be. Howdy. Your typical hello, hi, and hey get terrible reply rates in direct messages. Howdy, hola, and even yo rank better. The best greetings, how's it going and what's up? Ask a question. Even if they're slangy and informal, they do the trick. They ignite some kind of spark. Don't ask the same old boring questions. Look for topics that get people excited, make people interested, and create sparks. Bonus, sometimes if I'm nervous about asking a conversation sparker, I will tell people, I'm on a small talk diet. Can I ask you for a new conversation sparker I'm trying out? This question in itself releases dopamine. I always get a positive response when I preface a question this way. In fact, people tend to lean in, raise their eyebrows curiously, and explain something like, yes, please, how interesting.
Love
So,
that.
when you were reading the list, and picking which one was probably got the best reviews, the one that I liked, which happened to be number one, was what's the highlight of your day? I like that. I like that. But would you think it was weird if you walked up to someone like in a networking thing and you were like, hi, my name's Jenny. And they're like, hi, I'm Paul. And you said, so what's the highlight of your day? Like, do you think that would be weird?
I think that's kind of cool, actually. Yeah.
I do too.
Really?
I would be like, oh, okay.
And it actually sounds like you're more interested in who I am than how are you doing, or are you married, or how many kids do you have? Yeah.
I hate that, hi, I'm Lori. Oh, I'm Amy. How are you? Good. How are you? And that's
I do too.
The problem with that is there's nowhere to go.
no.
Right.
I mean, everybody's good. You know each other's names, and basically you're both sitting there going, I really don't even want to know any more about her. So what am I going to ask?
Yes.
Yeah,
Exactly.
and
That's-
these things really would spark a conversation, versus the just, how you doing? What do you do for a living or whatever? Like, your personal passion projects, like, ooh.
Yeah.
But then you might get somebody that drones on and on about their personal passion project, and you're just like, oh my God, well, it's been 15
Okay.
minutes.
Well, yeah, but then you
Well-
quit listening to that like you do anything else. You just nod
Correct.
and
And-
wait,
Here's the other thing about that. That happens anyway, even no matter what you ask.
Yeah.
You're going to get the person who normally does that. Okay. I had a garage sale this weekend, and there was this guy that showed up, this older gentleman who clearly wanted to talk. Somehow, I don't even know how the conversation went, but somehow he went somewhere really weird and political. And I was just like, and now I'm stuck because this is my house and you're standing in my driveway. And God love my husband. He came out about that time right before he was getting ready to go to work. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. She needs to go fix her lunch because I'm leaving for work soon.
Thank God.
Here's the
Thank
thing
God,
with those
because I
conversations.
left. Yeah, I left, and the guy continued the conversation with Jason.
Oh, I bet that was exciting. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. So because I came back down and he's still standing there talking, and I was like, oops, I forgot something. And I turned and went right back in the house.
Don't save him. Just get the heck out. I get it.
Well, I knew that he'd do a better job of being like, and move along now than I would.
Yeah.
So,
People in the door, in the driveway, are things like, oh my gosh, I put a cake in the oven. I don't think I set the timer. I got to go check it.
right?
Or- But if you like, so I was thinking about, what's the highlight of your day? And if somebody's having like a really crap day, but they don't know you, they're probably not going to say, I'm having a really crap day. So it's going to make them find something about their day that was good. I mean, and so that
That
might be
might
good for
actually
them.
turn them around about their
Yeah.
day too.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. And then I wrote down the top things for how's it going and what's up. As you were talking, I'm like, oh, hey girl isn't
Hey,
good.
Hey girl.
Hey girl. Hey girl. Hey.
Hey girl, want to have a party?
What's
I'm
up?
guilty. I will say I'm guilty. But
Of
it's
hey
usually
girl?
like, hey Kathy, like because I'm friends with them or whatever, or I'm starting a conversation, being friendly. So, and that's in a text message. It's never in a conversation.
I think my favorite one on that list that is better than any of those would yo. I'm like, really?
What is it? Would you go?
Yo.
Yo. Oh, yo.
Yo, yeah, right? Yo.
That might
Yo.
be for someone much younger than me, because
Wow.
if somebody starts a conversation with me with yo, I'm like, pull your pants up,
Is yo Y-O? Is that
Yes.
yo? Yeah, I'm writing
Yes.
that one down too. Whoa. Yo.
Yo, what's up?
Yo,
That's what it's
what's
usually followed
up?
with. What's up?
No,
What's up, dude?
what's up? WHASSUP. What's up?
What's up? What's
up? Yeah.
up?
What's up? Yo. I'm writing it down.
Oh, Lori, I'm not looking forward to the next 3 texts from you. I'm just telling you.
That's funny. I love that. What's
You
up?
know what though? When you were reading that, afterwards you were like, you know, when it comes to salutations, and part of me was like, you know what? Even putting salutations,
So it just,
be,
that
like,
always
kinda
reminds me
funny,
of
too.
Charlotte's Web, though.
it reminds me of that too, right? And that's why I think I liked it, because I mean, hello, my daughter's name is Charlotte.
Charlotte, yeah, I got
But
that.
Is that why
so
you
it
named
just-
her Charlotte?
No, actually she is Charlotte because it is the female version of Charles, which is my dad's name, and he died 10 days before she was due.
So
So
a
I'm just
bigger,
incredibly excited that your child is not named after a spider, but okay.
a
But,
bigger, more meaningful reason than she likes Charlotte's Web. That's better.
Charlotte's
Yeah.
Correct. Well, it's also a very literary name. I mean, Charlotte Bronte and, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Sorry, I like literature. I come by it naturally. My mom was a literature teacher.
Oh,
So
there you go. So there's your conversation starters right there. Who's your favorite author? And people are going to be going,
Right. They're
Charlie
gonna
because
go,
they
Brown?
don't know.
No.
They don't know. Yeah, they got nothing.
Wait, who did Charlie Brown?
Charlie Brown? Charles Schultz?
Charles
Charles
Schultz.
Schultz.
Charles Schultz.
Yeah.
That's not really an author, but that would be.
Okay,
a
we're going to go on to step 2 because this should be fun too. And we have to be done by
This is,
10:30,
we've
guys.
already had our own conversation sparker, and now we're off topic.
Yeah.
Sorry,
we-
I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay, we have to be done by 10:30, so we got a few pages left here. Step number 2, push hot buttons. One of the ways you can create conversational high points is by looking for someone's hot button issues. This is a topic, hobby, or activity that lights someone up. You know you've pushed a hot button when the other person begins nodding their head up and down as if to say yes, murmurs in agreement with mm-hmm, leans in to hear more, writes back a longer email than usual, exclaims in surprise with huh or wow, tells you fascinating, interesting, or tell me more, raises their eyebrows. This is the universal signal of curiosity, says ooh or ah, smiles and uses more animated gestures. When any of these engagement cues happen, you know that you have just sparked some dopamine and pushed a hot button. This is what Jeff Corolla Toscano was looking for on his tours. He points things out or tells a story and looks to see if he has sparked any interest. If so, he goes into more detail. You can find hot button issues by using sparkers that look for specific interests. In the set of studies by OkCupid I discussed earlier, their data scientists found that bringing up specific interests in direct messages also proved to be the most effective. Generic is boring. The more specific you can be, the more likely you are to find a hot button. Messages that were replied to the most contained words such as metal, vegetarian, and zombie. Why? One of these might be a hot button, but even if they aren't, you at least have something to talk about. The most successful users actually pointed out potential hot button issues. They look at a user's profile and guessed what might be a dopamine-worthy conversation sparker. You mentioned good taste and noticed that all that have great reply rates. You can search for hot buttons in conversations. I bolded the potential hot buttons in these questions. You mentioned that you volunteer with Big Brothers. Have you always done that? You asked for Argentinian wine. Are you a wine aficionado? I noticed that your purse is hand woven. Did you make it? I was curious about your accent. Are you from here? I was just looking at your bookshelf. You have great taste in reading materials. Your name is beautiful. Is it a family name? I saw you posted some great pictures of your new dog on Facebook. What made you decide to get a dog? The moment someone lights up, you know you've just pushed a hot button. This is when you can ask for background stories, details, and dig deeper. That produces both great conversation and more dopamine, which makes you more memorable. Whether in person, over email, or on the phone, looking for a hot button is an easy way to spark interest. Step number 3, wake people up. You can also use conversational sparks and hot buttons to wake people up. In 1994, 3 researchers hired an actor to panhandle on the street asking for money. They ran 3 trials. Trial 1, can you spare any change? Trial 2, can you spare a quarter? Trial 3, can you spare 37 cents? Can you guess which question did best? Yep, the third trial got the most people to say yes. Can you spare any change? 44% of people complied. Trial 2, can you spare a quarter? 64% of people complied. Trial 3, can you spare 37 cents? 75% of people complied. The researchers found that slightly unusual or surprising requests pique the most interest. It's like coffee for the brain. Unique questions, unexpected stories, and uncommon occurrences keep us alert in conversation. In other words, being different wakes people up. When you try to be the same as everyone else, it's boring. When you try to fit into a mold, you become forgettable. When you try to be normal, you become dull. Just be yourself, because no one is like you. If you're a little weird, own it. The right people will like you. This is not always easy. It's hard to own being a little unique. Before I started using unique sparks in my conversations, I began experimenting with it on my website. For example, most websites ask you to click here or sign up here or visit this link. So I decided to try something unique. I put a button on my sidebar that says, do not click here. It's one of the most visited pages on my website simply because it says something different. By the way, I reward clickers of that button with a video of cute baby animals. Once I got a little more brave, I started to wonder if I could add conversational sparks to my elevator pitch to spice it up a little. My old pitch, I'm a writer. Boring. This is the equivalent of a panhandler asking for some change. You hear it, but it doesn't really register. We've heard it before, and we sadly pass right by. I decided to do my own version of the panhandling experiment. I came up with 3 versions of what I do and printed up business cards with a different email address for each one. I'm a writer. I write about people. I'm a professional people watcher. Over the next few weeks, when someone would ask, what do you do? I would try out a version and then give them the corresponding card if they asked for it. I began to track not only which cards I passed out the most, but also which emails got the highest contact rate. I shouldn't have been surprised to learn that I'm a writer didn't get many card requests, nor did many people follow up with me after events. My I'm a professional people watcher elevator pitch got both laughs and card requests. I even began experimenting with putting unique images and content on my business cards and found that those cards always got better feedback and won me more clients. Since conversational sparks were working for my pitches, I wondered if they might also work for others. One of my favorite TV shows is ABC's Shark Tank. In this show, entrepreneurs pitch their business data to a panel of investors called sharks. I wanted to know if there were pitch patterns, so we decided to run a massive Shark Tank experiment. As of January 2016, 495 entrepreneurs had pitched on Shark Tank. 253 got deals, 242 did not. What's the difference? We analyzed each and every one of the 495 pitches and found distinct differences between the successful and unsuccessful entrepreneurs. One that immediately caught our attention was the standout entrepreneurs used conversational sparks and hot buttons in their pitches. Entrepreneurs who added a unique request, tried something a little different, or added interactivity to their pitch had a much higher likelihood of getting a deal. The majority of successful entrepreneurs, 63%, used a unique pitch method to get a deal. Some entrepreneurs brought on mascots like the one from Mr. Todd's Pie Factory. Others brought on celebrities like Vincent Pastore from The Sopranos for Broccoli Wad. And the Kiss Sticks pitchers even made sharks Kevin O'Leary and Barbara Cochran kiss to try out their lip balm. This is a way that entrepreneurs create sparks or high points in their pitches. Sharks hear dozens of pitches every episode, so when an entrepreneur tries something unique, it sparks dopamine for the investors and wakes them up. Conversational sparks add fuel to any interaction. I love to use the element of surprise to pique people's interest. I frequently hand out lollipops with my business cards that say, learn how not to suck. When people visit my office, I offer them hot cocoa instead of coffee. At trade shows, I have a bowl of Pop Rocks at my table instead of mints. In my guest bathroom at home, we have an R2D2 Pez dispenser and a gift book welcoming snoopers to our medicine cabinet. I send people air plants instead of flowers. I hide Easter eggs on my website. These are hidden links that once clicked deliver people to videos of me telling a corny joke. Think about how you can energize different areas of your life. This creates tons of dopamine-worthy moments for the people you encounter. Again, it takes a little bravery, but it can supercharge your conversations, pitches, meetings, parties, and social media with a little bit of uniqueness. Here are some more ways you can add conversational sparks to your interactions. Spice up your job title. Quicken Loans has a vice president of miscellaneous stuff. who helps with a little bit of everything. Houghton Mifflin Harcourt calls its receptionists directors of first impressions, since they're typically the company greeters.
Jenny, you could be the vice president of miscellaneous stuff.
Maybe.
Most definitely.
I think you need to put that on your business card. Director
Vice
of
President of
stuff.
miscellaneous stuff. There we go.
Yeah, I love that. Does she have a website on that book or something? Can someone send me her website?
You know where it is? It's Amazon.com and order the book. Do I need to come over and actually hit the button for you?
Just give us your password for a minute. You'll
Buy
get
it
the
now.
book. You will
Yeah,
get
so
the
you can
book.
do that auto click. Let's get that order in, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Buy
I
it
love
now.
that.
There's a little buy it now button. You can click it, come right to you.
I love the medicine cabinet snooper. That is hysterical. Not that I've ever snooped it in as a medicine cabinet. I'm just
No.
saying.
No, not at all. All right, let's
I
see.
love this. This is great. Okay, I'll be
Okay.
quiet.
Stop posting food pictures and sunsets on Instagram. Post something people haven't seen before. New mom and photographer Laura somebody started posting freaking adorable pictures of her sleeping newborn baby dressed like different celebrities and characters like Jon Snow, Pikachu, and Beyonce. As of writing, she has over 400,000 followers, and her account has been featured on the Huffington Post, BuzzFeed, and Inside Edition. I don't think I want to have a baby just to get 400,000 followers on Instagram. Sorry. Put a unique quote in your email signature. Noah Kagan, author of an email and analytics software, has a funny sign off on all his emails. P.S. Why you know install the free sumome.com to get more email subscribers. The purposeful misspellings and play on a popular meme makes his ask unique and very clickable. Don't serve coffee to clients. Serve vanilla tea, lemonade, or cake pops. When I checked into San Diego's famous Del Mar Hotel, I was given a room key and a s'mores cupcake. Talk about a welcome gift. My elevator ride and the first few hotel moments were sweet bliss. Stop bringing casseroles to potlucks. Whip up a recipe no one has tried before. Pinterest is a never-ending source of inspiration for rainbow cupcakes, Rice Krispies ice cream, and pickled potato chips. Instead of sending thank you cards, send thank you stickers, or pins, or lollipops, or popcorn. At the Be Sage Wedding Conference, they gave attendees coloring books and pencils to use during sessions and on the plane ride home. People loved them and shared tons of pictures of their creations on social media with the conference hashtag. Don't be afraid to try out a new joke, tell a silly story, or ask a non-typical conversation sparker. You'll spice up your night, add flair to theirs, and have conversations you'll never forget. It is not your customer's job to remember you. It is your obligation and responsibility to make sure they don't have the chance to forget you. Patricia Fripp. Bonus, say my name. You've probably heard that it's charming to lightly drop someone's name in conversation. You, me, everyone else. We love the sound of our own names. Dennis Carmody and Michael Lewis found that compared to other people's names, upon hearing our own name, we have greater brain activation in the middle, frontal, and superior temporal cortex. Also, where the amygdala and hippocampus are located. Lori, I want you to look this stuff up and give us a diagram of the brain next week, please. There was one of the reasons why Jeffrey hits it off so well with his tour groups right away. He makes a point of quickly memorizing every single person's name on the tour. Not good with names? Not anymore. Here's my 3-step name game you can do every time you meet someone. Meet and repeat. As soon as you hear their name, say it out loud back to them. It's so nice to meet you, Eliza. Or Eliza, this is my colleague, Jenna. This jangles the audio part of your memory and allows you to hear the name in your own voice. Plus, you give them a nice hit of dopamine. Spell it out. Next, we want to give that name a visual hook. Memory expert Dr. Gary Small encourages people to mentally spell out the name they're trying to remember. You can also pull up a picture of the name in your head. Associate and anchor. Lastly, tie the name to someone else you know with that same name. It can even be a celebrity. This anchors the name to someone else you're familiar with. For example, whenever I meet a Matt, I always see him at a poker table with all of my other Matt friends. Bonus, if it's a unique name or a name you've not heard before, tie it to a word that most closely resembles it. For example, I met a cider, pronounced very similar to cider, so I pulled up a mental picture of steaming glass of cider. He was shocked when I remembered his name at the end of the night. This exercise takes a bit of practice, but it's a fun way to gamify names. I highly recommend teaching this name game to your friends or colleagues because you can help each other think of anchors when you meet people. Insider tip, if you totally forget a name, set up a system with the people you're with. Anytime you introduce someone to them first, they should ask for the name. For example, if my husband says, I would love to introduce you to my wife, and does not mention the person's name, it means he doesn't know it. Then I know to ask, lovely to meet you. What was your name? Easy peasy. A safety net. Worried you won't be able to think of a snazzy conversation sparker when the moment comes? Scared you'll be caught tongue-tied during your next interaction? Wish you had someone to text on an awkward date? Have no fear, Vanessa is here. Anytime you don't know what to say, anytime you're awkward, anytime you need a little social help, just text me. Really. Blah, blah. Normal test messaging rates apply. Tell me what to say. I'll send you a conversation starter. Give me a pep talk. I'll send you an encouraging word. Send me a joke. I'll send you a corny joke to make you laugh. Send me a tip. I'll send you a social skills tip to help pump you up. Bonus. Want to be daring? Text me, give me a social dare, and I'll send you a super fun challenge to try wherever you are. I'm not sure I would want that from her. If you want to have dazzling conversations, it's up to you to create sparks. You can remember someone's name, use conversation sparkers, or push hot buttons to create talking high points. Get out of your own conversational autopilot. Don't use social scripts. Ignite conversational sparks. Stop passively listening and push hot buttons. Hack conversations by creating high talking points. Be more memorable by really remembering the people you meet, from their names to their interests. Ending small talk starts big connections. Here are your challenges. Use one conversation sparker this week and see how it completely changes the interaction. Try adding some hot buttons to your pitch, email signature, or next conversation. Turn on the TV and find a show you've never seen before. Every time a new character is introduced, try the 3-step name game. This is a low-stakes, laid-back way to practice. Bonus, send me a text to say hi. If you're really brave, ask me for a social dare. Chapter review. We don't like, remember, or enjoy being around boring people. The best way to hack into stimulating conversation and create memorable connections is to ignite conversational sparks. We are attracted to people who give us mental pleasure, who push our hot buttons, keep us mentally alert, and learn our names. Abandon social scripts to change your small talk to big talk. Find topics that turn people on. Create sparks by using people's names, asking unique questions, and bringing up novel topics. My biggest takeaway from this chapter is, yo.
Nice.
The whole chapter was great, but the last section that you were reading, about whatever it was, I don't remember now. I was listening, but I never
Defining your
realized how much
sparks.
I rely on a book to look back and recap. But
Let us help you with that.
the unique sparks and the social dares, and just it makes a lot of sense, because it's not I remember, it's not our customers or our clients' job to remember us, or for them to remember us, right? Is that
Right.
what you said?
Yes, it's not, it's a quote. Let me find it. It's not your customer's job to remember you. It's your obligation and responsibility to make sure they don't have the chance to forget you.
Yes, I like that part. Yes, the whole chapter was great.
This is a really good book.
It is. Gosh.
Yeah. Too bad you don't have it.
I heard they're sold out.
Oh, then I'm coming to your house every Monday to read your book with you, Ellen.
Sure you are.
Right. I'll believe that when you show up at the door.
Well, if you're going to be in the car, you could pick her up on your way home. But I mean,
After that.
Right.
Today's exceptional. Usually not in the car on Monday morning.
yeah.
So I actually really liked how she was talking about trying to remember the names and things like that. So one of the things that I do at a party is I use Tupper Bucks. And so I say, I'm going to help you get started on getting some of your Tupper Bucks. I'm going to make it really easy. I want to get to know everybody a little bit. And so I go around and I say my name. I say, hi, I'm Amy, because by the time I'm through the whole room, everybody remembers that my name is Amy, because they've heard it, however many times. And then the other thing is they say their name and I repeat, I'm like, oh, Sandy, it's so great to meet you. I'm glad you're here. How do you know? And then I, turn it to the host. But if it's a name like Like Christy, I would say, is that with a CH or with a K? And then they would say, oh, it's with a K. It's another way for me to remember. Or, you know, is that Sandy with an I or Sandy with a Y? Or, you know, again, it's trying to get that name into my head. I had some really pretty normal names at this party that I just did on Saturday. However, one, her name, she introduced herself. She said her name is Patty. And I said, is that Patty with an I or Patty with a Y? And she said, with an I. I said, is that short for Patricia? She said, no, it's just Patty. And I was like, oh, okay. And so later somebody else called her Patricia that knew her from church. And she's like, my name is not Patricia. And like, even I was like, ooh, don't call her Patricia. That's not her name. So, you know, and
from Patricia. Yes.
Right. So it was really, obviously, I really remembered her and other people because I asked those follow-up questions. So it was kind of, this was affirming that I'm doing that, you know, this is what I should be doing to try to help remember their names.
People are funny about their names too. Like
They are. Yeah.
they want, well, even James. Like if you know,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
a little kid, but if you
James,
look at
not
him and call him
Jimmy,
Jimmy,
not Jim.
it's
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
over. He will tell you right now, my name's James.
Yeah.
And
James.
Becky got into a knockdown drag out course. It was Becky, but she got into a knockdown drag out with her first grade teacher because the teacher kept insisting her name had to be Rebecca. And she's like, no, my name is Becky. And the woman was like, yes, but your name's probably Rebecca. And they've always just called you Becky. And Becky's like, it's Becky.
What don't you understand?
I didn't name her Rebecca. That was like Serenity. So they used to ask Serenity, what do they call you for short? You should say Serenity.
Serenity. That's what Charlotte gets that. They're like, do they call you Char or Charlie? And she's like, it's Charlotte.
They call me Charlotte. Is that too hard for you?
That's funny. And then Ella's the opposite. Everybody calls her everything under the sun, and she's like, okay. Like she's just like I remember the first time I heard somebody call her Izzy, and I said, did he just call you Izzy? And she goes, well, yeah, he just gave me a nickname, and now everybody on the team thinks my name's Izzy. And I was like, okay. I'm like, so then, and then there's another place she goes and they call her Izzy because there was already an Ella and an Isabella. So he's like, okay, I'm going to call you Izzy because I can't be yelling, you know, these names across the court. And so, yeah, people call her Belle, Bella, Isabel, Isabella, Ella, like Izzy. I was like, what? Like, what's happening there?
Those are all good choices though. You know, like
They're not
Isabella,
bad. I mean,
Yeah. Bella, you know.
I don't know. She's just not a Bella to me.
Well, like
Well,
with
I
my-
call her Ella Bella because she's beautiful. And Bella means beautiful.
So Dakota used to call her Biella. Do you remember that?
Bella.
Yes, I do remember that.
Yeah, for baby Ella, and so she shortened it to Biella, and so it was just like always Biella. It was really funny.
It's
Well,
cute.
Casey calls Serenity Lenny because that's all she could say when she was little. But even the other three girls, not Lenny. Casey can call her Lenny. The rest of them, it's like, you know my name. Was it?
Yeah.
Well, I call Elizabeth Biz because I couldn't say Elizabeth when she was little, or when I was little.
When you were
She was
little, when she was little.
When
What's
we
up,
were
Biz?
both little. So I still call her Biz. I call her Elizabeth also, but I call her Biz.
I'm gonna go real quick because I have to go get stuff to make notes for the 10:30 call that we're.
That's fine. I'm going to stop the recording.
Okay.
Okay.